Hello and welcome to the Soul Food Book Club. This is where we focus on inspiring, informational, and entertaining, all those good things that lift our vibration in the form of written books. And today we have a very special guest. We have the author of Games Psychics Play. We have Kass Hillard with us. And thank you, Charlie. Yeah, if y'all have the book, hold it up so our audience can see the name of it. Kass, we're so honored that you are here with us today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I'm honored to have been asked, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. We have our group with us today, our family. Christina Leftwich, who was the one that introduced us to your book and has asked you to come and be with us today at our request. Thank you, Christina, for doing that. We have Auntie Jean Lorio.
Stacy from Texas.
Stacy from Central Florida. Mary Lou.
Mary Lou
in Massachusetts.
Hi, y'all.
And Grace Isis in New York. So we're so happy everyone's here. This is our second week of talking about this book. And
I'm Charlie, and this is Erica.
Oh, I am so sorry. I was going around the circle and I didn't complete the circle to come back to you guys.
And this is Teri, our host here.
I'm just so excited to hear from Kass, and I know others have, and Christine is waving at us from the back of the room.
Yeah. Trying to lose some weight. Good job, baby girl.
And I'm so excited because other people have mentioned that they have some questions and some things they would like to bring up. So I'm just going to open the floor. Kass, I would love to hear how this came to be. How did you come to write this book, and what was the process of writing it?
Okay, well, actually, I was coming back from a writer's conference, and, that was pretty inspiring. And I was on my way home, about 5 miles away from home. Spirit started talking to me, saying, "You have to write a book. This is the title. Here's what I want to have put in it." So I was a little surprised, so I had to pull over into a gas station parking lot, pulled out my notebook, and just started writing what I was hearing Spirit say. And then once I got home, I started going. I couldn't, Spirit wouldn't leave me alone. So I just started writing and writing and writing. And I had the basics done like that weekend. But then, the process of filling everything out, that had to take place. So 2 years later, you have the book. But, for those of you who've read it throughout, I tell you to trust yourself. Writing the book was huge practice in that, because sometimes you hear things and you're not quite sure, and I had to trust exactly what I was hearing. So everything that's in that book was, I'm not going to say it was channeled, but it definitely was Spirit inspired. I was told what chapters had to be in there, and some of it, I just would go, I have no clue how I'm going to do this one, but it just started to flow. So that's how it came about.
Well, thanks for that sharing, because, it's actually been a part of our discussion here just today about sometimes it's hard for a lot of us to listen to that without doing comparisons and bringing in other people's stuff and our own expectations that may not be realistic. And so I can understand that was a true test there to really say, yeah, I'm going to go with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you all know, when you put yourself out there, you make yourself very vulnerable, and that's terrifying. And I don't care who you are, anytime you do that, you're taking a huge risk. And sometimes that doubt comes into your mind, but you just do have to trust the process. And when spirit speaks, trust it. You're going to be fine. You really will be. You'll be okay. So.
I think that it was something that was really, at least for me, needed. As you probably know, all of us are in a different place in our journey. And you explained everything in such a wonderful way, simple that we could understand. I know I had to be inspired because we needed that. That's something we needed. Because if you read some things, you just like, okay, you lost me. I don't really understand. And you go back and read. But with your book, it wasn't like that. It was like, oh yes, oh yeah, and I understand now. So I really appreciate it, and I appreciate Angels for giving it to you too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, as I said, it's the book that I wish I had had when I was starting out, because just like you, I had no clue what these people were talking about. They were concepts that, I understand them now, but in the beginning, you just don't. You really, really don't. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I agree with Jean. She said everything that I was going to say. It was very comforting and supportive and well written, and I understood it. And I loved the way you explained things. And I've read a few books similar, but yours is the best so far.
Oh, that's so kind of you. I can only say what I know, and nobody has to really agree with me, because I know that there's some things I put in there a little controversial. Other people, other mediums don't necessarily believe what I do, but as I said, it's just in my experience, what I've noticed, what I've learned, and what I've observed. So thanks for that, Stacy.
Hi, Kass. I'm Mary Lou.
Hi, Mary Lou.
I'm Christina's aunt. One of my brothers always says, oh, I'm the favorite uncle. That's my favorite uncle. So I'm going to say today I'm Tina's favorite aunt for this moment in time, anyway.
All of our favorite aunts. We've all adopted you. She's my favorite aunt.
I have a feeling she's going to be my favorite aunt too.
But I loved reading your book, and I didn't know anything about first I want to say that I always go back to psychic phenomenon that I was aware of in my childhood and later on in my life. There was only one person, my mother, who talked about reading tea leaves. And I think it was her mother, it might have been her grandmother, but I think it was her mother that used to read tea leaves. And I remember her actually doing that with me one day in her kitchen when I was a teenager, and she told me, how the leaves fall, is the way that you read them. And she said, oh, you're going to have a long life and you're going to find happiness. And I don't know, I always felt like she just was trying to lift me up that day or something. And, and I tucked it away and, and had a pleasant experience with her. And then one of my ex-husband's relatives was a psychic. And I regret so much not connecting with her more. I was fascinated with it. And I loved other people telling me stories of what she would say to them. And, but I never really was drawn to it, more so than having just the basic interest. But I read your book and I didn't want to read the whole thing. because I wanted to take it step by step. And I'm like, oh no, I have to read it because you're coming today, but in the beginning, I was like checking my energy with my hands, and I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it was like, I felt warmth, which I expected to do, and I mean, I'm not totally, isolated either, because I've had Reiki done to me, with me. One time I didn't know what it was, but I could definitely experience, the flow and the heat and everything. And she told me afterwards I was having a massage done, and I went back, and every time I said, please do that again, because I just could feel that positive, healthy energy coming through, so when I did expect the heat to happen, but what happened? I was like a magnet, was wanting my hands to touch one another. And I didn't know, is that a normal thing? I had to kind of fight it. I could feel like they were magnetized and wanted to touch each other. And I thought, well, maybe they just want a good rub again. Maybe they just want that connection.
That's really interesting. And I don't know what that would mean. And I think when we have those things, we have to ask ourselves, what does that mean to me?
I picked up on that in your book, and that's why I like you as an author so much, because you were very open to saying throughout the book, this is how I feel, this is my experience, other people have had this experience. And I also loved, because this has happened to me in my life, where when you talked about certain things that I'm not very good at remembering specifics unless I marked it, and I didn't. But there was a couple of times in the book that you talked about having an insight, a reading for someone, and you thought it was going to be a certain way, and it turned out to be another way, and that you just trusted all of that. And I feel comfortable with anybody that feels that way about anything in life, even if it is not a psychic experience. I think that we should all tune into that and be comfortable, in trusting, if there's a basic trust there already. I mean, not just anybody and everybody, but isn't that a great way to live in general? To just feel like, just trust it and go with it, and see how it evolves, and what it's meant to be for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. And the more we do it, the more we get shown that it's okay to trust yourself, that you got this, you in spirit, you in universe, whatever you want to call it, you got it. It's all good.
I was just curious about the different quotes, and I'm not very far in the book. I'm a little quarter of the way through. I'm into the chakras or whatever. But the different quotes, did they come to you, or you? How did you get them? And the one with the energy, really, we are slowed down, sound and light waves, a walking bundle of frequency turned into the cosmos. We are soul dressed up in sacred biochemical garments, and our bodies are instruments through which our souls play their music. That is like, wow, from Einstein.
Yeah, Albert Einstein.
That one really hit me, and I'm like, wow, and I was just curious. Did they come to you, the quotes, or how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I will tell you. So, of course, we know Albert. He did a lot with energy, and I thought that he needs a quote from him really needs to be there. I just knew it. So I just asked, what should I use? And into the book I went, and there it was. So it really was a spirit thing, just trusting that it would be there. So that's exactly how I did it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just like, wow, that one was right at the beginning.
Yeah. He's quite profound. If you read some of his things, I think he was a spiritist. I really do. He is something else.
I agree, Cass. I have been fascinated with Albert Einstein and just how much he was able to juggle the two sides or balance the two sides between the very analytical science, physics, and able to really bring a connection for himself. And therefore, I felt the connection with the spiritual too. He's one of my hopeful people that I really look up to some of the things that he has written and shared.
Yeah, it was a surprise when I started reading more about him. It's like, this is an amazing person. He really knew how to pull it all in and pull it together. So more than just a dry scientist, absolutely.
Yeah, he was definitely connected in. And I remember in the first chapter or second chapter, you were saying about our journaling, to keep a journal about the coincidences. And coincidentally, we watched a movie a couple of nights ago that also quoted Einstein. And the quote was, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." And I love that, because I've always said I don't believe in coincidences. There's a hand behind it. And there's more synchronicities, I think. If we really look at what's going on, we can look back and say, oh, that's why that happened. It wasn't a coincidence. It was all divinely guided. And I agree, Albert Einstein, I think he had one foot in the fifth dimension at all times as he was leading us here on Earth as well and teaching us. And thank you for using his quote.
Yeah, as you've been talking, I've had full body chills up and down. It's like, oh, so he must be hanging out with us, because they're not going away. It's like, whoo.
My grandson.
Hi, Albert. I'm so glad you're here.
My grandson Lucas went to camp for physics at the museum this year and learned about Albert Einstein. And he looks a lot like my husband. He has curly white hair that's kind of long. So it's not always kempt. And he looks like Albert Einstein. I think I'm going to assign him, if it's permissible, I don't know, as my husband's spirit guide. I know he'd be better off picking his own, but maybe I'll ask.
Yeah. You do that, Mary Lou, because I already assigned Tesla to Carrie. So,
oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. He's just so cute with that wild hair too.
Wild hair, I know it. Well,
I find that attractive. I don't know.
Apparently, it runs in the family.
Like me.
Well, I wanted to piggyback a little bit on that, because the discernment in this book, I have to tell you, Kass, yes, we've already known each other, and I was so excited about your book coming out. But I have to share with you, it is beyond my expectations. Seriously, I agree with Stacy. I have picked up many a book about this subject, and Jean as well. And what you were saying too. This has been such a useful tool. That's why I say I'm going to be keeping this copy. This is going to be a part of my library. But I also appreciated the discernment. That was something that I found to be different about what you included in your book, about kind of helping me take out my own self-doubt, when yes, there is such thing as maybe having a coincidence, or maybe I'm reading somebody's body language more than I'm reading spirit, kind of a thing. And it kind of helped me to discern that. And in turn, it also helps with, discerning others too. Is this really coming from the right place and by the right person, and to trust my intuition on that. I was lucky enough to take one of your classes, and I wish you were closer so I could take more. This book is just so much more. There's just so much more information in this than what I had expected. And just, it's been wonderful. I was so happy to get back from vacation. It came the day after I left. And so I had to wait. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is something else. So, but yes, thank you, because you've included things. And that's just one example of things that I haven't necessarily seen in other publications, like how to keep yourself from being taken advantage of, which I think is important for everyone in no matter what situation you're talking about. There are always people that might want to take advantage of somebody's sadness or grief or just not feeling right about themselves. And you also included those tools to empower us. So I'm just saying it was a very empowering feel to it, even though it's so much fun. So thank you.
Oh, good. You're welcome. Yeah. And we have had some fun in class, haven't we?
Lots of laughs.
and I do like to have fun, and that's the thing with the title that came, you know, because it can be fun and it should be fun, and it's serious fun. But then there are those individuals who do play games with you, and they use those, and so it had that double meaning. And so I'm glad you're finding it helpful. And as I was writing it too, you know, there were so many things that I could have put in there and I wanted to put in there, and maybe that'll be book 2 continuation. No kidding, this was good. But it just reminded me of how when I allow it, spirit just protects me. Even when I don't allow it, spirit protects me. But when I'm really, really focused and conscious of it, it's amazing the situations I've been blessed to not be part of because of spirit, you know, or to be part of because of spirit, either way. And so I like to keep track and journal, and I do like to journal coincidences because those are a little bit different. And when I start to doubt myself, I can go back and look and go, oh, look at all of this. It showed me right here, right here, right here, every step of the way. There's spirit's been there with you. You've never been alone, ever, 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 even when it felt like it.
All right, good point. I want to welcome Isabel, who's with us virtually. And she says, we are all in love with Albert Einstein, and I'm going to buy your book, Kass.
Oh,
So awesome, Isabel. Thank you. Tammy Fitz is with us virtually. Tammy says, my first book like this, but I am enjoying it and surprising myself with some of what I feel. I just started to open up, but did not give attention to some of the details before as possibly having any psychic ability. Thank you for creating this book to learn.
oh, you're so welcome, and thank you. Thank you.
And Kathy's with us virtually. Kathy's at work today. But Kathy had brought up something I would love to hear you expound on and talk about. We have a messenger thread on Facebook for our group. And Kathy says, I guess this book, although interesting, makes me feel like I am missing out on not being, quote, really psychic. I wish I had some of the gifts like having angels speak to me, or even the intuition that some people seem to have. I have some gut feelings, but they are not always justified. You know, I hear this a lot, Kass, from people, and I hear the comparisons that happen. You know, this person has more psychic abilities than others. And so I just would like for you to expound on that some, if you would.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. If you're a carpenter and you're building things, there's always going to be somebody who's even better and more gifted than you. So to compare ourselves, it's really kind of cruel because we're right where we are in our journey because of circumstances maybe sometimes beyond our control, right? So the truth is we all have intuition. We all have psychic abilities. It's just to start to, and I say it in the book, practice, practice, practice. So even the master carpenter, the very first project, I'll bet mom still has it, and it's that crooked wobbly table, but so proud of it because that was the first attempt. And I think when we start out learning about our intuition and our psychic ability, we oftentimes feel kind of wobbly. We're not sure. We really don't know. And that's what that book is really about, helping you learn to discern. And you really have to practice. Like the story I told about the post office, when it's like, okay, is it the man or the woman who's going to help me? The male, postal worker or not? And I heard female, and it was obvious that it was the male. I was next in line. There I go. And when I told him what I needed, he said, well, I'm not trained for that. She has to help you. So, it's just like you really have to keep track of those things where your intuition was right, and start out small. Like, what should I wear this today? Yes, no. Should I, really simple. We have to take those baby steps before we start to, be able to walk around the block, and then walk a mile, and then, continue on. So I applaud every success, and I really think it's important that we do that for ourselves, because not only are you applauding yourself, but you're applauding spirit. Thank you. Thank you. You're recognizing that spirit's there, that you've got that connection. And the more you do that, the stronger it gets.
I've often wondered about that. Like, for a time there, they had psychics televised on different talk shows and things. And, and I wondered, did they wake up one day when they were 19 or 14 or 12 or 30 and just say, this is who I am, and I'm going to, go forth with it, or did they start, like you suggest in the book, with a friend, with another person, or actually creating a group of people to help that, to grow and develop. I always wondered that, how does it just happen? Like, do they sometimes they would say, I always knew, I always knew I had this gift, but, your mom might've said, oh, I have one daughter that tells me, Mom, I have special powers. She's always said it to me. And I always thought that she meant, she watched too much of, oh no, I'm not going to remember the name of it, but there was a cute little show on that had wizards and, the little white people with the blue hat, the Smurfs. And she loved the Smurfs and the Smurfettes, and I always said, oh, just like Smurfette, you do have them, and I never discouraged it, but I never really said to her, you should look into it someday, and I don't know now if she's, I know we're on live and she could watch this herself someday, so I better be careful. But, I kind of wish sometimes that she did look into it further, because I think about my mother showing me those tea leaves, and we have Irish heritage. And I think that a lot of Irish people, that we read about were psychic. And I don't think it's unique to them, but because we are Irish, I think that there's a big possibility that she, she uses other gifts. She might be using them even unconsciously. I know it's a broad topic that I started, with wondering, how does it all come about, and how do people become aware of it,
Sure. Well, we've all heard of those people who, from the time I was little, I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian, or I just wanted to be a teacher, and I always wondered, well, how did they know that? Because here I am, I'm 66 years old, and I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't get it, but I think we all have inklings, and I don't think you wake up and you've got these full-blown powers. Nobody wakes up like that. It's a lot of practicing. But some people might be more aware of them, that this is occurring in my life, you know, and many people, not all of us, sadly, have those that can help support that, because they too had it and they recognize it, so they're helping develop it. And it's something it's called an imposter syndrome. So while I wrote that book, if I'm honest with you all, which I will be, you know, many times I would have to go, man, what am I doing? I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. Well, clearly I am. And, you know, and I had to go back and trust Spirit was telling me it's okay. You know, we're given those nudges because we can do it. We can do it. And if you trust, you'll be able to do it. So, you know, I think, well, like I said in my book, I would get these things, I would hear things, but I didn't know who I could even talk to about. So as that happens, it starts to close down a little bit until something comes back, and you wake yourself up again, and you start practicing. So
that's what I was going to say, the awakening. So a lot of times it takes an awakening for someone to realize that they have the powers that they had all along, and they didn't know about it. Like 20 years ago, something happened, and, you know, and I didn't realize, you know, until just a year ago that I'm like, oh my God, you know, that was, you know, my mother talking to me, and, you know, and she was dead, and she had passed, and, you know, and wow, you know. He told me I was going to win an all-inclusive trip to the Dominican Republic, and I won it, you know.
wow.
And it wasn't until I died and went to heaven, and then she said I could come back, that I knew that, wow, you know, okay, I'll come back. Because I had a NDR, you know, and it was like, wow. So, yeah, and that was my awakening point, you know. That's how I found two lovely women sit next to me.
Yeah, he's Carol Brady. He's got 3 lovely ladies.
Well, and then, you know, once you have that awakening, then you can kind of start to look back and see that, oh, things, you know, it didn't just happen. Things had started happening yesterday and yesterday and yesterday, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't know what it was.
And there's so much synchronicity that it's like, wow, you know, and I never realized it, you know, it's like, and it's just, everything seems to flow. It's like, you know, all
Yep.
good.
It's all good. I'd like to go back to our intuition and psychic abilities. And I think one thing that happens with a lot of people, and this has happened with me also at times, is we are afraid to speak what we're hearing. We're afraid to be wrong. We're afraid that we didn't hear it right, or that somebody might shut it down and criticize. Or I've known people that, you know, the family will just say, stop that, you know, stop talking like that, and do that type of judgmental stuff that we just go back into our shell and shut it down, and we close it down. Spirit doesn't close it down. So can we talk about that for just a minute? Because I've talked to so many people that they've gone through this, where they were just shut down from their abilities.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. For myself, for a long time, I didn't know anybody else that I could talk to about these things. And I always had an interest, you know, but it was kind of like under the covers interest, you know, because when, like I talk about in the book, when we're small and we can see colors and auras, most of us probably do, but you don't hear anyone else talking about it, you pretty soon you stop. So just as you're saying, you know, we have these abilities, but we don't hear people outwardly expressing them. So you kind of go, maybe there's something wrong with me. but I still have this interest and these things still happen. So it's very, very scary to reach out. But what I've learned is you have to, because just like you're saying it, and probably Christina had that happen, and Auntie Jean and Mary Lou and Stacy, and yet here we all are going, yep, yep, yep. And it takes somebody to let themselves be vulnerable to say, okay, I'm going to start a group and we're going to get together like this book club and talk about these things, so we have a safe place, so we can share our experiences, so we know that we're not alone. We know it's normal. There's nothing odd about us. You know, and we can support one another, and we can become confident and strong, because that's what we need. We need more lighthouses, you know, more beacons, so people can see that, oh, there's someone like me. I think I can trust him to talk to, or her to discuss these things with. So I hope that answers something, you know, along what you're talking about, Teri. But I know for myself, in my husband's job, we move around a lot. So I've been fortunate to have found a community. This was many years ago, where I could start to really explore this. And that's where I feel like I kind of burst open, and I finally got to do just what I'm saying. It's like, you know what, I have to be able to speak about this. And I know there are others out there like me. And if they're afraid to come out, maybe if I come out, they'll come along. And that's what I've learned. It's safe to do that. People come out. Now, you will have your detractors, of course. I mentioned, you know, a big event that I did and in the book, where I had quite an interesting experience. But it's been so wonderful to start to speak your truth, start to speak what you know, because people recognize it. I mean, just by you reading the book, you recognize it as you're reading the book. So there are, you know, so many others like that. And I think it's important for us to be able to share what we know and not keep it covered.
Kind of what I've been trying to say is that sometimes we don't know our gifts because we haven't been free. Once you find, like, the Enlightened World Network and our Soul Book Club and all these, you find the freedom then to go ahead and not only talk but grow. And one thing that I love about your book is that you've made some exercises, some ways for you to approach those things, intuition, power, you know, your chi, the power, energies, everything, to practice and grow. Because, you know, that's not cheating, that's growing. You know, you have intuition, well, you're going to practice that intuition. You feel energy coming through your body. Now you can maybe take a course in healing and learn how to use that positive energy. So I really like that about your book too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And they're easy and short exercises, which for me really works, because I'm a little scatterbrained, and the more summery it is outside, the more scatterbrained I get, it seems like. But so I need those short little, not taking up too much, because if it is too long, I'm not going to do it. And so I also want to say that it's helpful for people. Like, I've been interested in this I have a notebook, and it's not even my first notebook, but it's the oldest one I have been able to find a date in, which is from 1995, where I started doing this. But I also had lapses. And this last pandemic, I almost felt like I was in a lapse period of time. And this has helped me ease back into it again without feeling overwhelmed. It's just been a gift, and I don't think you know how much it's been a gift. I really almost lost my spiritual way. I really started doubting a lot of things, and most importantly, myself. And this has helped me realign and re-look at things with fresher eyes almost, where it's like, okay, it's fresher, but it's older eyes. I don't know. But like I said, it's that easing in and having such a complete look of the things that might arise, or it's just, as a new person, I can see where this is helpful, but I just wanted to say something that, as someone who kind of got out of practice for a while, this has been excellent for me to get back into things. And it's been a gate that has opened. And I think it actually happened in your class last November that I took. There was a portal that opened up during that class. I have never seen anything like it. I have never seen anything since like it. It was like a portal literally opened up in front of me. It was a complete distortion of light, and it was like a crack in the universe. I just could not get over it. And ever since that crack appeared, it's been giving me what I need. So, and it's been slow. Like you said, there's nothing fast about this. And I think I am learning to appreciate that there isn't anything fast, and there never will be anything fast about this. It's taken your exercises and me getting more into it. But it's been very helpful. I have to say, you probably saved a lot of my spirituality in this latest, just been helpful. Encouraging.
You're so sweet.
It's not sweetness, I mean it.
And I think we can all attest to that, Christina. We have seen you grow in leaps and bounds, and and now you're a leader in the community. You're a teacher, and I've just seen that change and that shift in you. So I'm so happy.
And you all have been very supportive. I've had this supportive tribe as well, which is like what Jean was saying. It is helpful to have that. We don't always even have to agree with things, but we're always supportive of one another. And we, the safe, that nobody's going to bring stuff in that is going to be judgmental, or, that's been, finding that has been great. And I'm not talking about cognitive dissonance. I'm talking about, just having that support and the freedom to grow.
Absolutely. No judgment. It's love.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is, none of us know what the other one is supposed to discover along their journey. Heck, I don't even know what I'm supposed to discover along my journey, So I can't really tell anybody else that. But yeah. And it's important to have colleagues, people that you can trust, even when, one of my very best friends, I write about her in the book. We've shared some really what we thought were crazy things, but it's always turned out to be okay. But that was scary, even with her, to be able to say, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm getting, and trust that she's going to have that and not laugh, not ridicule, nothing. And, it's important to find that. So I'm really pleased that you all have each other to do this with. It's such a gift. It's a huge gift.
I was looking in the book and trying to find something that I wanted to mention about. And it was when you wrote about all of our chakras, and along with writing about it, then you said, what would help us to know that we're in alignment or misalignment. And that was very helpful for me, I think it's some of it is common sense, that you use with anything,
Right.
But the one thing with the crown chakra is located just above the crown of the head, connecting us with our higher self. And I think that it has so much wisdom and information and knowledge in here when you speak that way, because I'm a firm believer that all these gifts have to always be turned back over to the higher power, to spirit, to God, that it comes from within our being, but the God that is within us is in our creator that has gifted us with that, and I've been participated in Catholic charismatic prayer services for a number of years, a long time ago. And those people were also gifted by they call the Holy Spirit. And they believe that everything that they shared with us, all of the wisdom and knowledge and love and guidance, was coming from their mouth, but it was God speaking through them, and they were always very, very careful to acknowledge that, and I feel that the people with the greatest gifts have always done that, that they've always said, this is not just me, it's coming from the God within me. And I was thankful that you had included that, with us, most especially with our crown chakra, that is that God connection. Yeah, I really liked how you were very helpful, in your book of listing, not just listing the chakras, but, helping us to know what might be in alignment and what might not be. And like you said, that again comes from within ourselves. But it's helpful to see it in print, very helpful. And, thank you for writing the book, because I'm glad that I read it. I like it.
You're welcome. Thank you. On that note, so something I didn't put in the book, and I, because I forgot, quite honestly, so this is something that you can do for yourself. It's a practical thing. So if you ever gotten up and you had planned on wearing something, and then you went, I kind of feel like wearing red today. I don't know why. I feel like wearing red, so I'm going to do it. Consider that could be your root chakra saying, I need some attention.
Yep.
So, just when you have things like that happening, so that might be a signal that might need just some help. Like it might just need a little adjustment there.
And here's my kindergarten question. Why do some people align chakras from the bottom up and others align them from the top down?
I think it's probably the way they were taught.
Okay. And it doesn't really make a difference, of course.
I don't think so.
Okay. I just
really
wondered
don't think so.
because about half the readings, they do it from bottom up and the other half do it from top down, which is the way I learned, from top down. So I guess maybe because that's the way I learned, I said, well, I can feel the energy going this way, down to Mother Earth.
Yeah. And I learned the opposite way.
So it comes up from Mother Earth and goes to the divine. So very interesting. And I'm sorry, I know it's a kindergarten question.
No, it's
it really isn't. It really isn't. And I'll give you an example. I got asked one time. It was really hard. I was at a conference and we're talking about Reiki, and somebody said from the audience said, is it true that when you do Reiki, you have to wear all white? And I'd never heard that before. And the answer really is no. Because what if you came across, let's say we were hiking and you injured an ankle and you wanted some Reiki, but I'm dressed in my jeans. No, you can't. No, it has nothing to do with what you're wearing, but that person had been taught that in order to do Reiki and to have it be at its highest level, you needed to be all dressed in white.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, my sister-in-law who has her meditations, Meg, when we go to the meditations, most of the time everybody wears white.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just led a chakra balancing thing this morning. And it's interesting that you say that, because for the first time, it led from the heart chakra to clear the gate, so that we had a free swinging gate when we went to go through the rest. So I don't know. You know me though, Jean, I might just be a rebel.
No, I mean, that's interesting.
It is.
Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me that you could start somewhere else.
There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong answer.
There's no. Well, and then you also
follow
brought
spirit.
up the thymus chakra.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of the thymus chakra before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know there are many chakras, but
I mean, we've got all of these little tiny chakra centers, the nadis running all through us. I mean, everywhere there's energy, right? But those are the main points. And depending on what you do, I love the thymus chakra.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we always get that, to connect. So, yeah. And it's hard to find information about that, but I was taught about the thymus chakra too, so I just think that one's an important one. But
we as massage therapists do something called the Thymus Thump.
Yeah.
And that's where, where you did, just like you do that. And think about, I saw Kass do it too. It's such sometimes when I feel anxious or something, I'll actually find my hand going like this. And it's like, yeah. So every once in a while, I would have someone that said that they wanted some energy work, is usually who, but, just do that little thymus thump to try to get things freed up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. The spiritual heart right there. Boom, boom. It's, yeah.
Wonderful.
This has been so beautiful today. I just want to open it up and see if there's anyone else that would like to say anything or ask a question before we end the show. I know we don't want to, but we are coming up to the top of the hour.
It always flies by.
I would like to ask Kass if she'll come back again next week. Because we got the whole month with this book, and I'm over the beginning. So.
Well, we have 2 more weeks.
I would be happy to come back sometime.
All right, we have 2 more weeks, so maybe we get you at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
That would be really good. This way, we'll all be finished it and can have more questions for you. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And the color thing. This morning, there were 3 of us, and we all had blue on. So
Interesting.
yeah, on the morning show, and everybody say, "Well, what's with the blue?" And nobody picked it out. It was just Archangel Michael coming in.
Yeah, we got that memo.
Yeah, right. Well, I clearly didn't. I have all of the colors.
Yeah, just like Erica here.
Some of us showered since the morning show and changed our clothes.
That's right. We did.
Like Teri and I. Not Charlie. He's dirty.
No, I had a different shirt on.
No, you didn't have the blue shirt.
No, it's a different one. It was a different blue.
We'll go watch the
It was
replay.
the tree. It was the
You
tree.
should have asked.
I had the tree of life.
Yes, she did. He had the tree of
And I
life.
did shower, so she is wrong.
See what I have to put up with.
See, she's trying to tell you I didn't shop.
He smells, he didn't put on his deodorant.
Yes, I did.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, we do have to get off of here and clear the channel. I just want to thank you again, Kass, for being here. And
Oh,
thank you,
thank you
Christina,
so
for
much.
making the connection. And to all of us that are here today, so much love. And I know I can just feel the excitement. I know you're all loving this book as much as I am. And thank you for being here. And anybody else that just wants to say a word to Kass, we will love to have you come back on. If it's next week or the week after or whenever you can come in with us, we would love that.
It'd be my great honor. I know I can't do it next week. I have to be up in Michigan actually doing some work. So, but yeah, right, Christina. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's nice. It's really rainy here. We have a thunderstorm going. You can see behind me. And so it brought a lot of light to my life today. And thank you.
Where are you right now, Kass?
I'm actually in Ohio. I live near Cleveland.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you.
She lives not too far, Aunt Mary Lou, from where Aaron went to school at Oberlin.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's exactly where I live, in Oberlin.
yeah. We have another niece that is a musician.
Oh, she probably walks by my house.
well, not anymore. She
She's-
took it all
she's
back
big.
out east.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
back
she
in the
did? Okay.
Berkshires.
Awesome. And Isabel says you are beautiful and I love you so much. And Tammy Fist says, thank you for coming and sharing your time with us.
Oh, thank you, everybody.
We have several of our members of the book club that were not able to be here today, but they are listening. And thank you, everyone listening virtually, everyone that came into Zoom today. Thank you for being here. And please hold your books up, those of you that have them. For anyone who wants to jump in here as we are reading and talking about this book, it's Games Psychics Play by Kass Hillard. So please go on Amazon and find it and support her. It's an absolutely amazing book. And we'll talk about it again next Wednesday on Soul Food Book Club. Thank you all for being here. Many, many blessings. Stay in your heart. Stay blessed. And we say,
Namaste, y'all.
see you later.
Have a great day, everyone.